What horrible, ridiculous names have you heard parents choose to call their children? Had a little boy in my program named Rowdy. Kind of rednecky but whatever. Then I found out his older brother is named Howdy. WTF. Found out later that the older boy's legal name is Howard. That's less ridiculous, at least. I work at a college and often go through the new applications to process them. I've seen all kinds. Most ridiculous name I've seen thus far though. Starscream Anakin as his first and middle names. He has a normal last name. When I first saw it, I was certain that it was a kid fricking with our application system. Then I met him in person, and he showed me his ID. His name is legally Starscream Anakin. I get the Anakin part, but of all the Transformers to name your kid after, why on earth make it Starscream? He was just awful. I work with a couple that named their son Anakin Sky. I've worked with them for months and just put it together that their last name is Walker. Anakin Skywalker. Their 16-year daughter is named Isis. Pretty name but did not age well in the US. I went to high school with a guy named John. Yes, his first name, middle name and last name were all John. Update. Thanks for the silver. This was not in Texas, BC or Ohio, so there are at least several parents who inflicted the same name on their kids. He was a nice enough guy and owned it. He did sometimes sign his name John 3. Major. Some friends of mine in high school knew a girl named Cash Money. Met her once and she said her name with some made up accent. One recently I ran into was Cadence. That wasn't very Cash Money of her parents. My dad wanted to name my little brother My Kid, with his middle name as Rules, so his full name would be My Kid Rules, our last name. My mom stopped him though lol. That's just part of a dad teasing his wife. Doubt he was serious. We named my kid Jack, but kept teasing her I wanted it to be spelled Jack. When I was pregnant my now ex-mill wanted me to name our son Rock, which is stupid as it is, but the last name is Bowler so my son's name would be Rock Bowler and I couldn't do that to the poor kid. My ex thought it would be funny to name him Rocky with the middle name Bal so his name would be Rocky Balbola. OK Arthur Doak. We called him OK. He was the youngest of 5 kids. Fancy, named after the Reba song. And her sister Truly, named after Truly Scrumptious from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Secret love. She was a kid my mom met when my mom worked at a pediatrician's office. Secret love's mom laid out the whole story to my mom about the name. Go on. Had a boy in our school named Avante, pronounced Avant. Mother insisted the accent made the E silent. She would come completely unglued when anyone said his name wrong. Lady, that's Avante. Update. IKR. I have no idea why she didn't just leave off the E altogether. The sad thing is, she really thought it would make it silent. She was really angry about it. If she were a nicer person I would have felt sorry for her, as I'm sure no one really challenged it until he got to school and people saw it written versus just hearing it. It got to be where after pre-K we'd warn each teacher about how to pronounce it, so spare them the wrath and the incorrect grammar lesson from mom, but no one could help it. In Italian Spanish it even signifies that the syllable should be stressed. Avante. Nevi. It's heaven backwards. Anyone that tells you their daughter is named Nevi will also tell you that it's heaven spelled backwards. Every time. My niece is named Nevi and you are absolutely right that her parents tell everyone that it is heaven spelled backwards. It is like that have the compulsion to justify naming their child Nevi. On a side note, no one calls her Nevi. We call her Squish. Not sure which is worse. My mother is a genealogist and discovered that my great something grandparents were named Lettuce and Nimrod, a power couple. Update. I spoke with my mom and she said that her name was Lettuce with an I, so y'all were right. And it probably wasn't pronounced lettuce like I imagined but rather Letitia or something. They were married around the 1840s. The joys of genealogy. Another update. Thanks for silver, my first award. Nimrod used to be a respected name. Nimrod was a mighty hunter in the Bible. Then Bugs Bunny called Elmer Fudd Nimrod sarcastically, and so the meaning completely changed. This was a nickname, but my aunt called my cousin my little dingleberry for 10 years without knowing what it actually meant until my mother told her. My dad called me dingleberry every day, and he told me what it meant. The neighbor of my dad's ex had a son and daughter called Blaze, and Angel. I don't understand the strange spelling. A person who went to high school with legally changed her name to Blaze. I went to high school with a guy named Zip Dorb. His middle name was Adido. They named that mother Zip Adido Dorb. My oh my, what a wonderful name. The kid's name was William. Unfortunately for the kid, he had a nickname that was spelled Liam. That doesn't sound so bad until you hear the pronunciation. Yum. Like, William. They called their child Yum and spelled it Liam. No teacher in my classes with him could ever say his name correctly, so he eventually gave up and we all called him the normal sounding Liam. I'm a firm believer that you don't get to take a common spelling and change the pronunciation. If your name is spelled the same as a common pronunciation, I am going to use that pronunciation. If you want to be called Yum, then change your freaking name to Yum. Saw a mother at the grocery store with two annoying rowdy kids named Dillinger and Maverick. They drove away in a lifted pickup truck. I imagine the father is a total dicknose. If they were all wearing matching camo, I think I've seen them. I thought the same thing. She had a superior look on her face in the frozen food depot as they tried to kill each other by the milk case. I was reminded how much I dislike OPK. Well, let's just say that the state I live in doesn't have a significant English-speaking population, especially in the rural regions. Despite the official language of the country, India, being English and most of the urban population being educated. However, I have friends whose parents gave them names like Benadryl, Goodbye, Very Helpful and the absolute worst dishwasher. This, however, is because people from the rural regions, especially in the northeast, come to the cities and see words in ads and billboards that they find pretty and innocently name their children after a variety of brands. I don't always blame them. I had a family friend who came off as very posh and educated, spoke perfect English, but named his daughter Darth Vader. Some of them are just trolling. Do not underestimate people of the hills. They don't take your bulls, educated or otherwise. A family friend named his son Sir and it's pretty cringe. Honorable mention goes to the former co-worker who named his daughter Khaleesi. I knew a girl named Lady. Graduated with a girl named Bodacious. Most Native American names are pretty badass. My favorite I saw while working as a banker was Subway Club Alaris Supreme middle name, last name. His parents named him this and he wanted a loan to open a weed store in a state where it is illegal. To clarify, his middle name is middle name. I forgot the last name, but it was just a normal last name. Middle name as a middle name is such a power move. It's the name equivalent of putting bottom text at the bottom of a meme. Truly an inspiration. Lil Joshy, not just a nickname. His actual birth name. He's 10 now. I would hate my mom for calling me that. Not really ridiculous, but I think the spelling is idiotic. Alison. Just spell it normally. IDK, why the fucky people have to be so unique? I read somewhere that some French people wanted to name their daughter phrase French for strawberry, and they got denied by the freaking government. LOL. A girl I went to high school with was named Martini and her last name was Pitts. She also had a brother named Harold. Guess what they called him? I went to school with a Harry Butts. His parents were exactly what you'd expect of someone who named their kid that. One of my co-workers' last name is Rising. Please welcome to the world his baby daughter Valkyrie Rising. I'll admit, it's freaking cool. I don't recall the middle name, but it was normal like Renee or something. Knew a boy in America called Satchel. He changed it as soon as he could, because his mother refused to believe that a satchel was a type of bag. She thought it was a fantasy name like Aragorn or something. I worked with a girl named Cinnamon. Her father named her after the song Cinnamon Girl. My uncle had a kid at his middle school named Mother. People are weird. I had a girlfriend in college named Senna. Her dad wanted a boy named Ernest. They compromised when it turned out she was a girl. This was before the advent of ultrasound. Did data entry at an amusement park. One pass holder was named Asthma. That was her first name. Asthma, as in the breathing condition. A neighbor I had used to call her daughter T. She'd just yell out T come here, or T here drama club is doing whatever play etc. Felt so bad for the girl. She was like 14 and her own mother had reduced her to T. My mom's class had a 5-year-old girl named Trinket. What kind of crappy parent do you have to be to name your child after a small item of little to no value? Someone on my swim team is named Huckleberry, Huck for short. I also had someone in my 6th grade class named Buckshot Sullivan. Buckshot Sullivan is an awesome name if you were writing a pulp comic and not giving it to an actual human. I went to high school with Abt, Princess, Sweetheart, Destiny, Styles, Crescent Moon and Ryan. Not all the same time with the grade shifts in high schools. Yeah, I also know a kid named Rocket, but I think that's kinda cool. And hired someone named Candy Bar. This will probably get lost in the comments, but one time I saw a post that was making fun of the name Brinley for being a white name that a Karen would give their child, and that's my name. Can't believe I had to scroll this far to find this. I had to babysit a Karen kid a couple years ago. His name was Skyden and he was a little shithead. My sister met some kids in an international airport named Yellow, Flash, and No Exit. My sister asked No Exit why his mom picked that name. He said when she couldn't think of anything else she saw No Exit sign from her maternity bed and settled on that. Went to school with a guy named Dude. He was named after his granddad. There was a college football quarterback in Missouri whose first name was Cocaine, named after his granddad. I worked with a lady named Crystal Wineglass. Way back in high school in the 90s, I had a friend that shared my birthday. Poor guy's parents named him Dong. At the school they always wrote your last name, first name. As a result, on all school papers his name was Harry Dong. I was probably friends with him because he was the only kid more bullied than I was. Pretty mild by the standards of this crazy butt thread, but talk and rebar. Brothers, obviously. Parents are hippie welders? Is that a thing? Something like that. I still remember this episode of Maury where the mom introduced the baby and his name was Kevin. But it was spelled with a QU at the start instead of a K. A bunch of silent consonants and I swear I saw the 7 in there. It was a nightmare. I know a girl named Random. While at an Easter egg hunt years ago, eggs were labeled for each kid. I took the eggs labeled random thinking they were up for grabs. Random's parents were unamused to say the least. Went to grad school with a bunch of Chinese international students. One was a guy named Jason Wang. No big deal on that name, but his girlfriend's name was Wanting Guo. I was ready to pay for their wedding if she took his last name. I can only imagine the look on someone's face getting a resume with the applicant's name, Wanting Wang. I had a customer call me at work that was named Long Wang. I confirmed her name about 3 times. There's this girl in my high school that everyone knows about. She wears cat ears, furry tails and paws, pastel and anime clothing items, fake fangs, and refers to herself as a pastel monster with her body pillow. Her legal name is Honeybunny. I heard many in my time as a sub, but my favorites are still Da Baby, Da Lady, and Da Prince. On Da Prince's last day of school, he gave everyone the finger, so I can't imagine he is doing much better. I went to school with a guy named Jock. He had a half brother about 12 years younger named Jakes, pronounced Jarquez. Idiot parents for first coming up with a stupid name than naming their kid a French name without knowing how it is pronounced. I met a woman called Formica Dinette Johnson. Her mother had seen a billboard for a cheap tablet. The aforementioned Formica Dinette thought it sounded beautiful and named her daughter after it. An acquaintance growing up was named Tommy Lee. He married a girl named Jasmine Lee, had a baby which they named, wait for it, Heavenly. Probably should have just gone with Yuga. Reminds me of a joke in a Spider Robinson book about an Irishman and a Chinese woman who wed, and their combined last name spells Lee-hoo. There were Star Wars fans who named their son Yoda. He learned to fight dirty at a young age. Dorcas. It's a biblical name and I come from a very Christian part of the world, but I still think that this is a horrible name to give to a girl. She was also ginger, so she didn't have much chance going through school. Not my child, but a guy that works for us has been given the nickname as fuck. Hearing people nonchalantly say hey as fuck, run to the van and grab another box of cable without blinking an eye is really something else. Candida, which, if you're not up on your medical terminology, is the name of a fungus, specifically yeast, as in a yeast infection. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.